Media Fact Checker. NRL player Loko Pasifiki Tonga's neck injury during Dragons training and his medical clearance. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Loko Pasifiki Tonga, 20 years old, was taken to hospital in an ambulance on Thursday morning after a suspected neck injury during a regulation tackle at Dragons training in Wollongong. The St George Illawarra Dragons confirmed Tonga was conscious and communicating with medical staff at all times during the incident. Tonga underwent precautionary scans following the incident, with the club later stating he had been cleared of any major neck injury concerns. Tonga was released from hospital and returned to the Dragons training facility on Thursday afternoon. Tonga was listed to play in Sunday's NSW Cup clash against Parramatta before the injury. But not all outlets told the same story. No contradictions found between the two sources regarding the core facts of Tonga's injury or medical clearance. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. EU-Australia Free Trade Agreement nearing finalization with key leaders visit. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, will visit Australia next week, on Monday, after declaring the EU-Australia FTA in the final stretch. Anthony Albanese, Australian Prime Minister, will meet von der Leyen in Canberra on Tuesday to finalise outstanding FTA details. Negotiations have reached the ministerial level with outstanding issues including market access for Australian red meat needing resolution by leaders. The FTA negotiations began in 2018 and stalled in 2023 over Australian beef market access and EU naming restrictions on products like feta and Prosecco. Trade Minister Don Farrell and EU Trade Commissioner Maros Sefcovic spoke on Monday night, with Sefcovic tweeting good progress and confident of a mutually beneficial agreement. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states the FTA could be worth about $10 billion in extra trade for Australia in the first year, while Article 2 claims modelling suggests a GDP boost of up to $7 billion. Article 1 mentions the flight was delayed by Middle East airspace closures, but Article 2 does not reference this detail. This story was covered by news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Donald Trump's response to Supreme Court tariff ruling and trade policy shifts. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Donald Trump posted on Truth Social on Sunday claiming he has the absolute right to impose new tariffs after the Supreme Court ruled many of his 2023 tariffs were illegal. The Supreme Court in February 2024 found the Trump administration lacked sufficient legal justification under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, for many tariffs imposed on countries worldwide. Trump imposed 10% tariffs on goods from much of the world under Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act, which expire in July 2024. Trump vowed to raise the temporary 10% tariffs to 15% but has not yet done so. U.S. officials launched trade investigations last week to potentially impose new permanent tariffs replacing the repealed ones. But not all outlets told the same story. Guardian Article 1 states Trump's temporary 10% tariffs under Section 122 expire in July 2024, but Article 2 does not specify an expiration date for these tariffs. Article 1 mentions Trump's lunch with the Kennedy Center Board at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time and Oval Office meeting with VP Vance at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, while Article 2 does not mention these specific events. Article 1 includes Trump's criticism of FCC Chair Brendan Carr's threats to revoke broadcast licenses, while Article 2 does not address this issue. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis.